The first thing to say is that the international side-by-side movement for gender justice is a movement for transformation. It's a movement of faith leaders, faith-based organisations and individuals, for all people of faith who share side-by-side's understanding of gender justice, which is to see a world where everybody, women and men, girls and boys, are valued equally, are able to share equitably in the distribution of power, knowledge and resources, and are free from cultural and interpersonal systems of privilege and oppression, and from violence and repression based on gender. We've already heard something about the development imperative and the faith imperative for gender justice, but just to emphasise yet again that so long as women and girls don't have equal access to economic, social and political opportunities, so long as early marriage and unsafe childbirth and dropping out of secondary education remain a reality for so many girls, and so long as gender-based violence prevails and is tolerated, then women are robbed of agency. And they're going to be in no position to develop themselves and their families and their communities and their nations out of poverty. 2 years ago, when Christian Aid hosted an international symposium in London for representatives from churches, ecumenical networks and faith-based development agencies, specifically to look at the faith contribution to gender justice, we recognised that it clearly isn't enough to have international protocols and national legislation on gender equality and on the protection of women and girls. The empowerment of women and men to live and work in just relationship requires a transformation of individuals, a transformation of communities, a transformation of cultures. And this is where faith leaders and faith groups have huge potential, at least wherever they're adequately equipped and supported. So the international side-by-side faith movement for gender justice was born, and it has grown quickly. Our 37th member organisation, Churches in Action in the Netherlands, has just joined. National chapters of the movement have emerged following regional workshops. They've emerged in Burundi, Kenya, Rwanda, Brazil, Scotland, Ethiopia, and our attention is now turning to the Democratic Republic of Congo, to the Middle East, to South Asia, and to West Africa. And next week, Side by Side will be launched in New York, while the UN Commission on the Status of Women is in session. For the side-by-side movement to be effective at grassroots, that journey towards gender justice must be locally owned and locally led. And where these national chapters of side-by-side have emerged, it's because local faith leaders and local structures, such as national councils of churches and other ecumenical and faith networks, it's where they've been energised by the faith-based principles and values of the side-by-side movement, and also the aims and objectives that we've worked out together. Religious people have quite a history of perpetuating oppressive attitudes towards women and girls. Sacred texts and faith traditions have been misappropriated to feed into theologies which devalue women. Women and men have become trapped by distorted mythologies around power. It's no surprise that in the past, faith leaders and faith groups have been perceived as unlikely partners in the actions needed to see the positive transformation of individuals, households, and communities. Fortunately, that narrative has been changing. Fresh, liberative theologies have been emerging, and there have been lots of encouraging instances of practical faith interventions for gender justice. So Side by Side is building on this. We're working for a more coordinated, more extensive, deeper and sustained engagement by faith leaders and faith communities. Side by Side's objectives are confidently ambitious. We are being bold for change. So we're going to be busy. Faith groups are a permanent presence in every community, and people still listen to faith leaders. Yes, they do. And actually, governments listen to faith leaders. So faith leaders are in a very strong position to be challenging harmful cultural norms and practices. We've already seen how they can make a difference in dismantling stigma around HIV/AIDS, as Loretta has said to us, and also in helping families to let go of centuries-old cultural practices that were adding to the spread of the Ebola virus. We've seen what can be done. The potential of faith leaders in making enabling environments for women and girls for gender justice is enormous. As well as the transformational work that can be done at grassroots, Side by Side is also taking its transformational agenda to advocacy at the global level. We're in touch with UN Women, and we're excited about how things might develop there. We need to provide a counter-narrative that is more compelling than the regressive faith narrative that has often prevailed in such fora in the past. It's intended that the side-by-side movement will be structure light, but we do need some structure to keep things moving and growing. And we hope that at some stage the inception group for the movement, which I co-chair at the moment, will be able to hand over to a secretariat for the movement, if we can find the funds to do that. So as a movement, Side by Side has been made remarkable progress, and we're sure it will continue, and it will change lives. It will change the lives of men, women, girls and boys. Thank you for listening.